A man is running inside the orphanage in heavy rain, carrying a wooden box on his head. He placed the box at the door of the orphanage, rang the bell, and ran away. Hearing the sound of the bell, the warden of the orphanage opened the door and saw a box in front of her. She was shocked when she opened it. A 2-day-old baby was locked in a box with many letters and left at the door of the orphanage and ran away. A woman was sitting on the study table and writing a letter to someone while crying. There were many cut marks on her hands and legs, and not a single letter written by her was visible on the paper. She wrote the entire letter, folded it properly, and put it in a wooden box and closed it. But she still had to do one more thing for which she had put a sorry on the fan above. Then she stood on a chair, making a noose of the sorry to hang herself. Just then, 2 people broke the door and entered the room. A woman had also come into the room with the 2 people who had broken the door, who foiled Kumud's attempt to kill herself and forcibly took her to the basement. The basement was actually the place of operation. There was already blood and pieces of flesh lying all around. Seeing all this, Kumud started screaming loudly. She thought that maybe someone would hear her scream and come to her help. But on hearing her voice, many cries of newborn babies started coming. And in no time, she was tied on the operation table. Kumud's operation started after a lot of screaming and crying. Kumud gave up her life in agony. She became dead from alive. Here the box in which Kumud had put her written letter. Suddenly there was a movement in it. Then a man picked up that box and went away into the forest. 27 years later, Robert and Emma have come to Miami to celebrate their second honeymoon 3 years after their marriage. But away from the noise of the city, they chose a bungalow where no one comes or goes for months. Then suddenly, Robert starts telling Emma the old story of that bungalow. It is said that this bungalow was once a maternity hospital, where deliveries of women who were not married or whose husbands had thrown them out of the house were done. And then some accident happened, and everything stopped. But 7 years ago, someone staked his claim on this property, and after winning the case, started living there again. After listening to her husband Robert, Emma fell into deep thought for a moment. Then she felt as if someone was watching her from the window of the bungalow. But on looking carefully, she did not see anyone. Then, thinking it to be an illusion of her mind, she started going inside the bungalow with her husband. A woman was standing with flowers in her hand to welcome both of them in the bungalow. As soon as Emma entered the house, she asked Madame Lily which month it was. Hearing Madame Lily's words, Suhani stopped for a moment. She asked Madame Lily in surprise, "How do you know that I am pregnant?" After talking for a long time, Emma had dinner with Madame Lily, and then everyone went to their respective rooms and slept. Both Robert and Emma were tired from the day's fatigue, so they fell asleep as soon as they lay down on the bed. After falling into a deep sleep, Emma felt as if someone was tickling her feet. As soon as Emma turned over while mumbling in her sleep, her hand went to Robert sleeping next to her. Emma woke up from sleep in a moment. She started thinking. Emma looked under the bed, but there was no one there. Then she heard the sound of a coin falling outside the room. When Emma went out and looked, a coin was lying on the ground, and a few steps away from it was another coin, and a little further away from it. Emma picked up the coins one by one and reached a door. When she opened the door and looked inside, the room was very dark, and at the end of this room, she also saw a box in which there was some movement. As soon as Emma reached near that box, the door closed itself quickly, and the sound of many children crying started coming from the corner of the room. Emma got very scared after hearing the sound of so many children. She immediately turned on the flashlight of her phone. As soon as she saw the room, she was stunned. There were many newborn babies in the room who had two black pits in place of eyes from which blood was coming out. All the children started coming towards Emma after seeing her, and after throwing her down, started eating her flesh. Emma was covered in blood. She was writhing in pain. As soon as she realized that there was a child in her womb, she showed courage and stood up and went near the box. As she came near the box, not a single child was attacking her. She came to know that only this box can save her from dying. Thinking this, as soon as Emma opened the box, a bright black light came out of it. Still, she tried to find something by putting her hand inside the box, but little did she know that she had put her hand in the mouth of death. Emma felt as if she had put her hand under the teeth of an animal. When Emma tried hard to pull her hand out, her hand was completely injured, but she was holding something with all her strength, a letter.